How many people do you know who struggle with their health? Chances are, whether they show it or not, most of the people in your life do. And chances are, you're one of them. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, endometriosis, acne, eczema, autoimmune, thyroid, Lyme, brain fog, fatigue, or any other symptom or condition, you're far from alone. Living with symptoms has become the new normal. So no more guessing games. It's time to get answers. Welcome to the Medical Medium Podcast. I'm Anthony William. We're talking about the 369 cleanse again. And why? Because when you're sick for months and even years, and you're on your hands and knees praying to God because you've tried everything and nothing truly worked, if there's someone out there, it's important to know that there is a beacon of light. It was given to us in a powerful cleanse called the 369, and it's there for the taking. And it's your God-given right to heal and your God-given right to have the healing tools that turn lives around. Sure, you have to do a little work, but you're doing that anyway with anything you do to try to heal. And once you apply yourself, your body will be so happy you did. So happy. And you'll be one more step closer to healing, and that means everything. And before you think about the costly price of this information, think twice. Just go to your local library and take out a copy of the book Medical Medium Cleanse to Heal. Or bust out roughly a 20. It's on sale at Amazon. Let's see, $20, or programs out there that range for $500 to $20,000. Well, you get the point. And you most likely tried some of those. When you're applying the 369 cleanse and you're in it, the blinders come off and you can see clear what's going on inside your body. You can feel things you haven't felt before in years. Messages come through. Spiritual signs arrive. Dreams change and alter when you're sleeping. The toxins start leaving. You're getting lighter. Never forget this. You have the right to heal. You have the ability to heal. Your body wants to heal. It just needs a jump start from above. Your body doesn't just cleanse anymore on its own or detox anymore on its own. Not the deep-seated stuff. Not the poisons and toxins that are in the cells and the organ tissue deep down inside. Those days are over in the world today. Surface stuff, sure. If you're sweating, perspiration, exercise, defecating, going to the bathroom, urination, sweating underneath your armpits, tears coming out of your eyes, little pieces of wax coming out of your ears. Surface stuff, all surface, not deep down in the guts. Deep down in the cells of the organs, the liver, the spleen, the pancreas, the intestinal tract lining. The lining of the intestinal tract, the bones, not down in the bones. It's a whole nother story. And then the brain, deep into the brain, not even in the surface of the brain, not even on the outside of the brain. Nowhere near the core of the brain, forget it. Nothing's coming out of there. Nothing. Nothing that is offered out there. Nothing that's biohacked. No fancy, smancy, flashy thing. Those toxins stay deep inside the brain. They stay deep inside organ tissue, and they don't come out. Everyday, normal, living, surface cleansing won't get rid of DDT, fluoride, steel. That's right, steel. Pharmaceuticals, benzos, anti-inflammatories, birth control, the pill, thyroid meds, antidepressants, prescribed amphetamines. Surface cleansing won't get rid of fragrances, plug-ins, aerosols, detergents, colognes, perfumes, parfums, fake essential oils, chemtrails, radiation, clothing chemicals, carpet chemicals, smog, acid rain, formaldehyde. And I didn't even touch upon treatments out there. Treatments, that's right. Alternative treatments, blood filtration, ice baths, fecal matter implants, hot yoga,
and many other mistakes in the health movement. None of that is getting rid of any deep, deep seated toxins. And natural everyday living, just everyday living, is not going to get rid of anything either. I know I kind of sound like a downer, but hang on for this ride, okay? Strap yourself in. Do you know what contributes to toxin overload instead of helping eliminate toxins? Alkaline ionizer water machine water, apple cider vinegar supplements, bentonite, and other clays taken internally, caffeine, chocolate, caffeine, coffee, and so forth, charcoal taken internally, chlorella, chlorine dioxide, cod liver oil and shark liver oil and all fish oils, colostrum, deer antler, diatomaceous earth, digestive bitters with alcohol, essential oils taken internally, especially essential oils mixed in with other things that aren't essential oils, fat burners, fish oil and krill oil, said that before, gut powder blends, herbal tinctures in alcohol, hydrochloric acid supplements, that's HCl supplements, L-carnitine, other amino acids, L-arginine supplements, mineral oil, mushroom coffee with caffeine, oyster supplements, pearl powder, sodium bicarbonate, turpentine oil, whey protein powder, and zeolites. They don't help either. And most of those contribute, some of those in a disastrous way. Oh, and don't forget bone broth. And I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of others. Everybody's different. Different in so many different ways, but different in the sense where different toxins, different poisons. Some people got a lot of toxins, some people have less toxins, but it's not just that. Years ago in the health movement, that's all. It was toxins. I was screaming it's mercury, lead, aluminum, arsenic, cadmium. I was screaming it's canola oil. I was screaming it's solvents, petrochemicals. I was talking about pathogens, neurotoxins, dermatoxins, spewing out of pathogens. I was talking about herbicides, fungicides, clothing chemicals, and the whole world in the health movement was just about toxins. That's it. Toxins. I started disliking the word toxins and detox and detoxing because more and more people started saying it, but there was nothing behind it. You scratch it and it was empty. You just blow on it, it would fall down like a house of cards. There was nothing there. It was anemic, very empty, nothing behind it. What toxins, where, how, what cells? And Spirit of Compassion knew it was in the liver cells. It was in the spleen cells, pancreas cells, brain cells, muscle tissue, organs, intestinal tract tissue, bones, and the toxins were mercury, lead, arsenic, cadmium. It was copper. It was all these other different toxins I'm talking about, and they sit and fester and fester and fester, and they weaken the immune system and break it down so that people don't have a chance to fight. Guess what? The stealth pathogens. It was like the perfect storm. The evildoers on the planet in classified medical research and science grew in their labs. Pathogens after pathogens, viruses, the herpetic family viruses, because those were the best ones to stealth out. Classified medical research and science knew that they can stealth those babies and get them out there and then blame it on Woodstock, blame it on the peace, love, hope movement of the 1960s, blame it on all the free sex where they're passing around different bugs. They're the generation that started all these pathogens. They're the generation that started herpes. And that's what they were hoping to do. The perfect storm, toxins and poisons, getting into people generation after generation. And public medical research and science didn't really have a clue. And they still don't. They didn't know, and they still don't know, that classified medical research and science grew all these bugs. HHV6, HHV7. Yeah, people walk around with it and they suffer from it. Herpes simplex 1, herpes simplex 2, all the different strep varieties, the Epstein-Barr's, the shingles, cytomegalovirus. These are just to name a few. Not even talking about the unidentified HHV10 through HHV16, plus HPV, and all the other different bugs, the flu, COVID, and so forth. There are so many different bugs and pathogens, and they're putting them out there. They put them out there. Think about life without classified medical research and science doing the sabotage from the evildoers above. Think about it. How many thyroids have been removed? How many partial thyroids have been removed? I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands, we're talking about millions in just the last 70 years. And why? Because of bugs, pathogens. The point is, there's good reason to cleanse. There's good reason to free the body up of toxins and not just live with spills. So, what are spills? Spills are when the liver gets filled up, gets filled up, gets filled up. And instead of the body detoxing something deep within, it's just the bucket is filled to the brim and it spills over. And when it does, people can feel it. They can feel it in a lot of ways. Some people may not feel it because they're not sick with an illness yet. They're not struggling with neurological symptoms. They're not suffering with vagus nerve inflammation. They're not struggling with phrenic nerve inflammation, cranial nerve inflammation. So when it spills over on them, they just may feel less energetic. Maybe they'll feel kind of sluggish, not so good. Somebody who's sick and they have pathogens, an Epstein-Barr infection that's deep within, or they have a shingles infection, or some other bugs, or some bacteria, some strep, and it spills over, and they've already been inflamed, they really feel it. So if it spills over on them when their vagus nerve is already inflamed, when the vagus nerves, the phrenic nerves are inflamed, they can really feel what's going on. And then they're right back at their doctor's office and they're like, look, I don't feel good. I can't get out of bed. I got all these different symptoms. I can't breathe well. I have distension. My chest hurts. My hands are trembling. I got brain fog. I can't see right. And they go to the doctor and they're like, what's going on? What's happening? Well, we have to take some blood work. We have to look. We have to see. And it's very difficult when it's neurological and it's a spill. It's not like the doctor's office is going to say, well, you just had a spill, sir. Ma'am, you just had a spill. Yes, we're trying to get a diagnosis for you, fibromyalgia, RA, MS, neurological Lyme. But either way, they're not going to say you just had a spill that's aggravating things, picking things up. And they're not going to say you got Epstein-Barr infection that's causing inflammation to your nerves, to your vagus nerves. Your Lyme disease isn't Bartonella, it's Epstein-Barr, and maybe a shingles to boot. Instead, they're going to be like, okay, well, it looks like you're having a relapse of some kind or an episode, or you're coming out of remission with your Lyme disease, coming out of remission of some other condition, or even cancer, coming out of remission of cancer, it looks like. Meanwhile, they're having a spill in the moment. Sure, the spill can make things worse. The spill can tax the immune system, overburden the immune system. So cancer gets worse or something gets worse. A big old spill is not going to help. So it leaves people so confused. Maybe they have a diagnosis. Maybe they have 3 or 4 illnesses. Maybe it's just an all-around autoimmune diagnosis where they have autoimmune. That's their diagnosis. The spill is going to confuse everything. It's going to confuse the doctor. It's going to confuse the patient. They're not going to feel well. And that spill isn't something where it's now you're detoxing and everything's coming out of your body that's spilled over, like your body's eliminating it all. Sure, you might eliminate some by default, but the rest is just going to go back in. It's going to recirculate. And that's what happens with toxins and poisons. They can recirculate right back in to where they started from. The liver can suck it all back up. And then whatever's topped off will spill again. And this cycle can happen over and over again, where the liver gets filled up, 3 days later, another spill happens. The liver gets filled up, 3 days later, another spill happens. It goes over and over and over again because no cleansing is occurring, no real detoxing, no real getting rid of some of the poisons is occurring. And then the different diets and the different hack diets and biohacks and everything else and trends aren't doing enough. Some of them can be healthy to some degree, of course, better than just an all processed food diet. But depending on how sick you are, because that's what nobody really talks about, the differences. Like, what's really happening with this person? Are you the person that has 2 or 3 Epstein-Barrs, 1 shingles, 1 fever blister virus, HPV, something else, a bunch of bacteria, few different streps? Are you the person that doesn't really have much of that, just one Epstein-Barr and one strep? Are you the person with a low immune system? Are you a person that has high mercury and the mercury's causing a problem, feeding bugs? Are you the person that has mercury, aluminum, copper? All these differences matter, and they depict how sick someone's going to be. They determine what's happening. And we don't hear about this when we're looking for help. It's like, you have autoimmune. That's what you have. Here, take this autoimmune drug. Or here, take these supplements for autoimmune. Not like, wait a minute here. What's really happening underneath it all? And are you getting spills? Is this stuff cleaning up? The neurotoxins alone from viruses can create terrible symptoms for so many people. Tremors, vibrations, restless legs, tingles, numbness, just to name a few. Brain fog, pain, vagus nerve disturbances everywhere, tightness of the chest, tightness of the throat, blooming weird feeling behind the eyes, a dull ache on the back of the head, trigeminal neuralgia, jaw pain, vertigo, and not even just vertigo. How about vertigo where it's not really registered as vertigo, but yet you feel just a little bit off balance? All these things, it determines what's happening inside of you. How dirty is the liver? How dirty is the blood? How thick is the blood? Do you have dirty blood syndrome? All these things add up. And then if we're toxic and it's all building up, the neurotoxins alone that create all these different neurological symptoms, and they're all just building up and building up from the viruses, the pathogens, and so forth. And then they just, boom, overflow back into the bloodstream, and now we're having an episode. We're having a relapse. We're hit hard. Now we're struggling. Now we're suffering, and we're confused. And now it's more blood work. It's a new doctor, and we're back in the saddle again. And maybe we get a different diagnosis this time. Maybe we get Lyme disease, and the Lyme disease test comes back, and that's a whole nother story. And meanwhile, the person's immune system is struggling. It can't keep up with it all because immune cells have to gobble up toxins. People don't really realize that out there in the health world. Immune cells have to eat toxins. They have to gobble it up. But toxins are toxic. Yes, toxic to our immune cells. So immune cells weaken. They get docile, unresponsive. Immune cells even die because they're gobbling up these toxic poisons. So the immune cells are suffering and can't survive it. Then we get a lowered immune system. Our bone marrow is in overdrive, trying to create new immune cells. Our spleen goes into overdrive. When this happens, more toxins are still there. More toxins are being added on to older toxins. Newer toxins are coming in. Lots of exposure is happening. And the immune system's like, what the heck? And our bone marrow is like, what the heck? What do we do? Our spleen's like, what the heck? What do we do? And we end up struggling. We get new bouts of illness and symptoms and conditions. More toxins are building up. Our immune cells can't keep up with it, and they slowly die. And now we're in this tricky place where we don't feel good. Our immune system is struggling. But yes, the toxins are still there. The overflow is still there, and the recirculate is still on. It's like being in the car. You can click, depending on what car you have, you can click the little recirculate button. And what that does is it shuts off air from the outside coming in, and the only air circulating is the air inside the car. It's recirculating, kind of like a fish tank filter. The fish tank water is recirculating through the filter. All the sludge builds up into the filter. Our liver is the fish filter. It's building up all the sludge. Over time, it just overflows and dumps back into the bloodstream. People walk around with blood too thick. Thick blood, dirty blood syndrome. Dirty blood syndrome is when there's so many toxins recirculating that the blood becomes thick, but for all the wrong reasons. It has to become thick, but for the wrong reasons. Thick blood gets people in trouble. They get more dehydrated. And if they drink or try to hydrate themselves with really thick blood, then they feel overwhelmed. They feel like they're drinking too many fluids. They feel it. it feels harsh on the body. You'll see people out there that don't drink a lot of fluids. They drink a little cup of coffee in the morning. Maybe they have a tea in the afternoon. Maybe a tiny little water, a little bit like a 4-ounce bottle of water or one of those 8-ounce bottle of waters. And that's it for the day. And maybe a sip of water before they go to bed at night or a glass of wine after dinner. And their blood is extremely thick. You say to them, you have to hydrate more or drink a little bit more of this or try some lemon water or can you drink some juice? They're like, I can't do that. I don't like that. There's a lot of people out there that live like that. They just don't like fluids. Part of it, they feel an underlying pressure, a pressure that doesn't feel good. Not really a symptom, but an underlying pressure, maybe even a slight distension because their blood is too thick and toxic. And then when you bring in more fluids, it's like a clash, undercurrent. It's like a wave of healthy fluid heading into a thick, sludgy disaster. And they collide and they can feel it. So it's like, drink a little bit more fluid. You should hydrate a little bit more. And they're like, well, I just don't really, that's not my thing. I just don't really like that. What they don't like, and they don't have a taste for, what they don't like is they don't like a funny feeling occurring. It's not a sickness occurring feeling or some strange feeling that hurts them, but underneath it all, consciously, something doesn't feel right. If they're at their doctor and they're getting a physical and they get a blood test, sometimes the needle will pull the blood and it'll be sticky. It'll even have a string attached. The string will be blood, a blood strand, thick, thick, thick blood, dehydrated blood. A lot of people have this. Sometimes it's like, hey, wait, we can't even get any blood out of your vein. And that occurs all the time with blood testing. A lot of people are dehydrated, chronically dehydrated, and they get their blood taken, and it's thick as molasses. But thick, dirty blood can happen to someone who's hydrating a little bit more because they're so toxic. They've had a lot of spillovers continually. They're recycling, recirculating toxins. Their blood can still be really thick. And keep in mind, hydration isn't always the answer. So lots and lots and lots of water is not the answer. Instead, it's not quantity, but quality. It's quality fluids going in. Doesn't have to be lots and lots and lots. It could be 16 ounces of celery juice, an HMDS, 16 ounces of lemon water, 8 ounces of lemon water periodically, a couple of times, 2-3 times a day. It doesn't have to be a gallon of water, liters and liters of water. That's not the answer. And that's not the answer to cleansing either. People think out there in health that the more water you send down, the more toxins you get rid of. But that's not entirely true. Not true at all. It's the quality of what you're sending down in the liquid form, not the quantity. And that matters because here's what happens. If you overdrink water because you think you're using it to cleanse, you may not realize, because nobody in the health movement's telling you, that the water is not a strong enough binder. It's not a strong enough eliminator of toxins and poisons. For example, if you have a greasy, oily pan and you just put water on it, how much grease and oil comes off? You're still going to have a greasy, oily pan. If you dump that pan out and dump the water out and you rub your hand on the pan, you're still going to have that salmon fat on the bottom of the pan. You're going to still have that oil or that grease at the bottom of the pan. The water isn't going to wash all the grease off. If you have an oil stain on your garage floor, an oil stain sitting there from your car or your lawnmower, and it's on the cement, and you pour water on it, that oil is just going to stay there. That grease is just going to stay there. It's not going to be removed. You need a degreaser. The water is just going to repel. Droplets are going to sit on top of the oil. It's going to be more slippery. So if you walk along and you step on that oil, now it's going to be extra slippery and you're going to fall and hurt yourself. The water is not going to remove it. So dumping a lot of water inside of our bodies, trying to cleanse or detox and push everything out is not a good thing. The oil, the grease, the fat is not easily dispersed, and either are the toxins. Toxins and poisons don't get dispersed easy, through water when it enters the body. You need binders in that water. You need neutralizers, free radical destroyers. You need minerals and trace minerals that do different things that may not be in just regular water. You need cleansers in that water, natural cleansers that come from phytochemical compounds. Now, this doesn't mean you don't drink water, or you don't have water or a bottle of water, or you get 16 ounces of water periodically throughout the day. You can. It just means you can't clean everything up with just water. It's not going to happen. And if somebody's bloodstream is dirty and thick, it most likely has a lot of fat in the bloodstream. And fat is oil. Fat is like grease. It repels water. Water doesn't necessarily clean fat or clean grease or old oily grime. That's not what water does. But there are things inside lemon water. There are degreasers in lemon. There are degreasers naturally in celery juice. There are degreasers naturally in fruit and leafy greens. They're there. And you can still have water. You can still have water, but put lemon in it. That is a degreaser. That's a blood thinner, but not a blood thinner in a dangerous way, not a blood thinner in an irresponsible way, a blood thinner in a way where it starts to guide some of the poisons and toxins out of the bloodstream carefully and naturally. A cleanse that works, like the 369 cleanse, does this. It removes surface toxins and then spill toxins. The spill stops it from recirculating. It helps to guide it out. And that's what people don't get out there. They don't receive that from cleanses. Instead, they just get the recirculation process and they try to find a breath of fresh air between it where, I think I'm feeling a little better right now, which they're really on just a lot of adrenaline. Okay, I'm not feeling so great now. I'm feeling a little better. I'm not feeling so great now. And then, hey, that was a great milk cleanse. Wow, that was a great water fast. Wow, that was a great olive oil cleanse. Wow, that was a great 50 billion other cleanses out there. The point is, nothing really changes in the end. You're not getting down there into any deep place, and you're certainly not cleansing the bones, getting deep down into the marrow. You hear out there, peel back the onion talk, but that's just what it is, the onion talk. Exactly that, and only that for the most part. Peeling back the onion when it comes down to cleansing, detoxing, and getting down to the root cause, the root problem of a condition, a symptom, an illness, isn't going to help when you're not really peeling back the onion. Peeling back the onion, one layer at a time, starts with getting the blood healthier, the blood cleaner, stopping the recirculation process. You can't even begin to peel back the onion. You can't even begin to get down into those layers if you don't get all the surface stuff cleaned up first. The blood has to be thinned out a little bit. The recirculation process of toxins and poisons recirculating back into the liver has to stop. What happens out there with other cleanses? They never reach the inside of the onion. They never get deep into the onion, ever. To get into the layers of the onion, you got to wash the dirt off. You got to cut the roots off. You got to peel some of those dried out, flaky peels and get those off and get the onion nice and smooth. You got to clean up the blood. You got to get a little bit of hydration in there that counts, the degreasers. You have to stop the spills because you have to get rid of what's spilling to begin with. You got to lower the grease levels in the blood. You got to lower the overt fat levels in the blood. You got to neutralize the poison so it leaves. You got to bring in the Cleanse to Heal book and the 369 cleanse. Ask your doctor what's right for you. Subscribe to my newsletter when you get a chance. You can go to medicalmedium.com. There's lots of free information everywhere at medicalmedium.com, plus amazing, healing, powerful free downloads. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, and even on Telegram. I leave exclusive messages on Telegram. God bless you. Many blessings. The 369 stands the test of time. Healed so many people. Pulled their toxic past out of hiding. not too slow, not too fast, gave them another chance to everlast. The 369 drags the poison to the surface so your body can be of service. It rounds up the garbage that runs loose and is unsoundingly savage. 369 brings up the toxic waste that was trapped beneath the layers, keeping us out of balance, sick, and loss of faith. The 369 raises the sludge, dilutes it, grabs it, prepares it to leave us in a straight line. That's right. The 369 stops the crime that runs rampant in our body systems, causing some to nearly go blind. The 369 backtracks until it rounds up the stealth fecal matter that numbs the nerves and paralyzes the central nerve tract, making a health problem extra tricky. Don't be fooled by the hokey pokey, posh posh of circus creating cleanse fools. This isn't a who's popular contest. This isn't a classroom in school. People's health and lives rule. You're way more important than an ego trip and an entitlement tool who's social media hungry to climb the ladder. To them, your health doesn't matter. It's time for you to heal, to clean house, move forward. This is your year. This is your time. It's here.
Original published medical medium information gets stolen and poached by podcast doctors, social media doctors, influencers, and medical clinics. Medical medium information has never yet been proven wrong by medical science and research. Instead, the opposite, only proven right and then taken from medical medium published material and used in the conventional and alternative health communities. Medical medium information continually sets the stage for medical science to understand chronic illness better. If you choose to share or use the original, unique content from the Medical Medium podcast, books, or Medical Medium social media, please cite where this information comes from, so others who see and learn of this information have a chance to know where it all originates, to give them an opportunity to heal, so they don't end up losing years of their life searching for answers like so many have before them. The Medical Medium information here on this podcast doesn't come from broken science, interest groups, medical funding with strings attached, botched research, lobbyists, internal kickbacks, persuaded belief systems, private panels of influencers, health field payoffs, trendy traps, or gathered bits and pieces of gimmicky confusion. Because chronic illness is exploding like never before in our modern day history, it takes a greater force than us down here. It takes a helping hand from above. Medical medium information has street cred. It's an organic movement of countless people around the world healing. More healing stories of real people not being paid to tell their life-changing experiences of rising out of the ashes of sickness and entering into the light of full recovery, getting their lives back and finally healing when nothing else in the world of health could move the needle and get them better. The information on this podcast is not man-made. It comes from above, from a higher source. Whatever you believe in, whether God, the universe, the light, or the creator, or if you believe in nothing at all, that we're just floating through space together on this rock. Know that the information you hear on this podcast is separate from all the other noise out there. It comes from a different place, a pure, untampered with, advanced, clean, uncorrupted, original, primary source, a higher source, spirit of compassion.